podcast you're listening to is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. My name is Kyle, and I'm the host of Putting It Together. From a very early age, I've been obsessed with musical theater, and in particular, I've adored the music of composer Stephen Sondheim. So I decided to create a podcast where I invite on a new guest each week and go through each one of his productions, show by show and song by song. You'll learn about theater history, you'll laugh, maybe cry, but always you'll be swept up in the music. It's called Putting It Together, and it's available anywhere you get podcasts.
Tell me your dreams over bacon and eggs. We'll share a laugh and a story and even a wish on the breakfast dish. Bop, 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 bop.
Merry Christmas, breakfast.
Dishers.
Sorry, wait. Sorry, Karen. What was
I
that?
said dishers. You hadn't finished the song. I thought you were searching.
I was doing some classic, like some breathy pause singing. So
Start
let me
again.
all right, take that back. Okay, and note to editor. All right. Merry Christmas, breakfast. Lots of eggs and juice. I wish I was on a podcast. I forget the rest of the tune of this song. My classmate Marguerite Lawler sang this song. We did a Christmas concert every year in singing class, and she sang this song, and I had it like in my voice recordings on my phone for the longest time because it would just make me weep whenever I heard her sing it. It was so amazing whenever I needed a good cry. And then I switched phones and forgot to move it over. And anyway, that's my biggest Christmas regret. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Breakfast Dish. Starting off on a hot note with Christmas regrets. Karen, what do we do on The Breakfast Dish?
We talk about our Christmas regrets. That's it. The year that we told you that news about that big jolly man that we never should have told. Nothing.
What do you mean?
You've forgotten the news we told you about the big jolly man?
I defended it so hard
I know.
at school. I got made fun of a lot because I was like, you guys don't get it. My parents would never lie to me.
Because we were so good. We were so good because there was like footprints on the deck and there was a present dropped out in the snow and there was like
there's too much physical
snow
evidence.
Footprints across the living room, and then one day his hot tub his bathing suit from the hot tub was hanging out by the fire to
His
dry.
hot tub pajamas. I love hot tub pajamas to describe the bathing suit.
That's a band name. Anyway, here on The Breakfast Dish, you and I, mother and son duo, Karen and Griffin, talk to anybody we please about the arts in Alberta. And it started with Karen just having breakfast with people that she really liked and then introducing them to the rest of the world. And it's kind of back to that now. We get to ask whoever we want to be on our podcast and then talk about them and find out why they're amazing, because we already know, but we have to tell everybody else why they're amazing, and then that.
And it kind of snowballed from there, and Karen got a lot of fame, and then she decided she was really high and mighty and will dispel all Christmas rumors for her child, which, sent him down the wrong path of life. It doesn't know where he is now. There was the one time, I'm sure we've talked about this, the one time where Oma just had me in the car at some point, and then just told me the truth about like 7 different things. Like, I think she hit Tooth Fairy, Easter Bunny, Opa can't move magnets with his mind. Do you remember this? It was like the one time that I've been like angry at Oma.
Was that following our information about the big jolly man?
I don't
It had
remember.
to have been. Otherwise, she's a terrible grandmother.
Right, but then why did I hang on to the other ones and be like, okay, well, this was just the one lie, but the Tooth Fairy's real. Tooth Fairy's real.
Because he wanted the
Come
money.
on, that's too many lies to shove into one kid.
When you think about it, it's so true. Wait a second. We have to discuss this conversation with our guest. So I'm going to introduce our guest because we have to bring him in on this, because maybe we're like completely ruining things for his family right now if they want to be listening.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Mom, 15-second skip button.
They're fine. They're fine.
Oh, we're fine. Okay. Our guest today is Mike Tan, famous actor, comedian, and photographer in Calgary. And I have the joy right now of working with him on A Christmas Carol at Theatre Calgary. And now we have the joy of talking to him on a Monday morning, and I'm so happy. Welcome, Mike Tan.
Hi, thanks for having me. Hi. I just got to say that you seem to have fostered such a trusting family that you don't have to worry about tainting the mind, because we've fostered so much cynicism and jadedness.
It was an interesting transition because Karen was like, well, we have to talk to our guest about this. And I was expecting, like, he's an excellent child liar. He lies to kids all the time. He'll have lots of insight. Mike, please.
Mike, how old is your kid?
He is 12 going on to 13, like next week he'll turn. I have a teenager next week, which is trippy.
So is your child aware of the huge lie?
Yeah, he is.
Since when?
Since very young, I think.
Karen, put down that gun.
Yeah. Since he was really young, I think, I don't know who spoiled it. We've never had a Christmas tree in our home. So this is our first year. And he actually, right as of this moment, still does not know that we have a Christmas tree in our house. So,
Whoa.
yeah. So he's going to come home after school and then be like, what the? And it's like, I thought you guys did it. And then I was like, you know what? We just wanted to surprise you with a big ass pink tree. We have a big pink tree this year.
Awesome. So that you must have cut that one down from the pink forest.
Yeah, they're cultivated sustainably. They're not. But we hope to keep this tree for a very, very, very long time.
Hey, welcome live to the Phoenix Civic Center. It's hot tub pajamas in the pink forest. Put your hands together.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
Well, Griffin was 13 going into grade 7 and still a very adamant. I'm trying to talk around this in case there are kids listening to this episode. But
hey, how about this? 1 second. Shit.
Okay, good. Now I can carry on. Parents have already turned it off now.
Explicit content.
He was adamant that it was all real because my mom is the best at providing Santa in the world. But we were going into grade 7 and Kevin and I went, if he goes into grade 7 still talking about this, he's going to get beat up.
Or saved by Santa.
That's right. Or my janitor, Mr. Leek, would have come dressed up as Santa Claus and knocked those kids out.
And be like, how dare you?
That's a way better story. The magic of Christmas.
Well, I say we told him, but I had nothing to do with it. I said to Kevin, you have to tell him when I'm not home. I was chicken. I was a terrible mother.
And what was it like, Griffin? Did it crush you? What happened? What did your body feel?
I remember my dad sitting me down at the kitchen table to have this conversation. And that was pretty indicative of, like, this was going to be a serious conversation. Like, sometimes we just, like, we played, my dad and I played Star Wars Battlefront a lot. And sometimes conversations would happen then, like, just on the couch. But he, like, asked me to come downstairs and sit at the kitchen table. And I was like, okay, I'm in trouble. And I don't know why. And then the reveal happened. And he was very tactful about it because it was kind of the gut punch, but then he pitched the idea that I could help trick my cousin. So he's like, well, you can now put on Opa's boots and go outside at Oma's and do this footprints. And I was like, yeah, that's right. Now I feel better. If I can trick, I'm fine being tricked.
Nothing heals wounds than the promise of deceit.
That's right. What gave me the Christmas spirit that year was revenge.
Great.
Yay!
Great.
Speaking of Christmas spirit and revenge,
Nice.
there are moments in A Christmas Carol where characters could choose to take revenge on the character of Ebenezer Scrooge because he's such a towhead to everybody. But they choose not to because they are filled with the Christmas spirit and they keep Christmas in their hearts all year long. And
they got street parties.
yeah, they have street parties. They invite him for supper. They pray over him. No one takes revenge against Scrooge, whereas really they should. They have a right to do it.
They pray over him?
They pray for. Sure, they pray for.
They pray for him
see.
and they toast a meal to him, like, Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast, that sort of thing.
Scrooge is passed out in an alley and they're all, oh, I hope he's okay. Oh my God. Please don't be dead. Please don't be dead. Please don't be dead.
Wow, everybody really partied hard in the street this year. And this is what happened. And we don't know how to get out of this except through prayer.
I don't know. Do you guys know where he lives? I'm not sure. We can call it chariot.
A chariot.
A carriage, not a chariot. Damn it.
This is Christmas future, when Scrooge has gone over to Fred's for supper a number of times and just got totally drunk.
Yeah.
And now he's passed out in an alley. Scrooge is being played this year at Theatre Calgary by two different actors, Haysom Kadri and our own Mike Tan.
Hey, that's me.
You have been in Christmas Carol at Theatre Calgary numerous times before this. Am I right?
Twice.
Okay. And what characters did you play then?
The first year I played Topper, was the toy seller. And then the following year I played Bob, which was really fun. Bob Cratchit, not Bob Hoskins, but R.I.P. Bob Hoskins. Though Bob Hoskins does live in my heart since Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Yeah. And then let's not forget the Mario Brothers movie from the 90s.
Oh, so sometimes I wish I could.
He's in the Mario Brothers movie?
He plays Mario.
Yeah, he's
with
Mario.
his brother. Oh, I guess actually, are they They're not even brothers. Are they brothers in the movie?
Mario and Luigi?
Yeah, so Luigi is played by John Leguizamo.
I don't think they're brothers in the movie, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I feel like they've made it like that. They are not brothers.
Does Bob Hoskins have like a gigantic Italian accent?
No, I think they're both just like from New York.
Yeah.
And of Italian descent.
Okay.
Which is like kind of broadly somehow in the 90s, everybody. That's just how New York was, it feels like.
The only way they're being inappropriate, I would say, is the size of their boots on the poster. It looks like rescue hero feet, like huge.
Yeah, so they can jump.
Speaking of rescue hero feat, it is a heroic feat to play Scrooge at Christmas Carol.
Nice. Okay, that one
Look at
actually.
these segues, Karen.
Thank you. Tell me just tell me, when you wake up every morning, and you think, oh, I'm going into rehearsal to play Scrooge, what's the first emotion that comes over your body?
Wow.
Oh, let's see. Yeah, I think my lips get all tight and I go, shit. And then I go, oh, I can't be too tight because then it'll hurt too long. And then I go, oh yeah, Karen and Vanessa are so funny that I'll just wait and see what they do. And then I go, oh, this will be fine. I'll figure out my lines later. That's kind of that's train of thought.
That's my morning too. That's the first thing that comes to my mind is I'll just figure out my lines later.
And you guys open.
It might be that our first preview is Wednesday.
Okay.
We had an audience yesterday because Theatre Calgary does this amazing thing every year for the Kids Cancer Foundation. They fill the house for free to any family that is living with or having been through cancer in their family. And we did the show for them, our final dress rehearsal, and it was lovely.
Yeah, it was so much fun, Griffin. These kids and their adults and guardians and homies, they had such great questions. We had a talk back afterwards because of pandemic times, and because of folks who were in attendance may be immunocompromised at the time. So instead of being into the lobby and talking to folks, we had a talk back on stage. So Q&A. So many people stayed. It was just like a really beautiful, lovely conversation with such like openly curious questions about what we do as actors and what challenges we face. It was so beautiful.
What's your favorite part of the show to do? What's your least favorite part of the show to do?
Yeah. What's the hardest part about being an actor? I thought that was such a great question.
And there's beautiful projections from Scott Reed on the back of the stage on the LED screen. And one of the girls goes, how did you make the live pictures?
Oh my God.
Like, there's something that just to me went, the kid has seen TV. It's just something about his projections that made her think sort of Harry Potter pictures that are actually alive more than thinking.
Yeah, to not say like big screen or big TV and say live pictures. Just that sense of engagement and wonder and like seeing something in a context as opposed to diminishing it to its just technical form. Anyways, beautiful questions.
Such great questions.
That's great.
So yeah, the rest of our cast is Vanessa Jete, and then the other cast is Haysom Kadri, Marshall Vial, and Jamie Tognazzini. And you can see those casts on alternating nights. You can see both of them if you want.
All right, I'm the kid here. Let me ask the question. What's your favorite part of the show, both of you? Karen?
I love being able to play Bob Cratchit. I love that Jeffrey Simon Brown has written an adaptation where it doesn't matter your gender. You're just three actors telling the story. And that's what Stafford's whole vision behind this year's production was. Let's celebrate the story and the people who tell it and the people who watch it. Yeah. What's your favorite part there, Mike Tan?
I really like being scared. Just with the effects that we have Though they're simple, like this kind of theater magic-y stuff. Because, in its essence, like A Christmas Carol is a ghost story. And I think that's what makes it really exciting to me, that there's this Christmassy holiday revelation and everything. But at the essence, it's starting with like, this guy is dead. Don't forget that, because he's going to haunt you. Like, there's something about that that is like really fun and really playful and kind of like embraces the macabre, which I really think that it's a part of the endurance of the story, is that there's a really primal thrill in the being afraid and being afraid into action, like being scared into action. And to kind of like remember to have that sensitivity, not just to spooky things, but to all the people around that influence your life, and those who have influenced your life that aren't physically with us anymore. And there's something really exciting about that. But yeah, just walking around on the stage and just being like, huh, huh. It feels really, it's just such a simple, yeah, it's really fun. There was one point, and this might be a light spoiler, or maybe I shouldn't say it if it's a light spoiler.
Well, we'll decide.
No,
Say it.
do it.
Okay, great.
Our light spoilers are our currency here.
Okay, great. Yeah, on Sunday, I didn't realize that there was sound that was that Karen does that was piped through the house in different places. So I wasn't like, we'd never rehearsed it like that, because afterwards they were like, "Oh yeah, we changed it. That's why you heard it differently. We changed it." But in the moment, I was like, "Where are these voices coming from? Have I never noticed this before, or am I just tripping out now?"
How is Karen doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, and so I was just looking around all over the stage being like, where is this sound? And this is definitely deliberate. And then being like, oh, now you're here.
This to me.
Yeah. But it was a lovely surprise.
I've seen you in so many shows, and I have to say one of my favorite things ever that I saw you do was this fall. You did a stage 2 for Lunchbox Theatre. You did a staged reading of By the Book by James Oden Wade, which was comedy genius. You're just like, you're built for anything.
Oh, thanks, Karen.
It was so good. Can you just tell us a bit about that show?
Sure, yeah. So James Oden Wade, who's based out of New York now, which is awesome.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And very, very awesome, hilarious human. Wrote this piece about a detective, or I guess secondhand man. Like, it's kind of this meta story of these characters who find themselves in a pickle after the main character dies. And they have this kind of interior awareness that they're on a show, but they don't exist beyond that show. And they only exist within the tropes of that show. But since the main character has died, they have to figure out, first of all, how the main character died, or who killed the main character, but also how to exist in a world without the main character, who in fact is this kind of misogynist, troubled white guy, like hard-boiled kind of guy. And then Detective Kevin Chen, who is his partner, who survives him, is kind of this bookish nerd who takes notes in the corner and is that kind of character trope. So it's this kind of breaking of these expected realities for these characters, and how they try to fit or remake this show before their reality kind of breaks apart. It's a little bit like, we've talked about this. It's a little bit like Reboot. This is 90s cartoon of these.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that kind of vibe of like, that's how they exist, their own world as characters within this TV show, and which takes place in what's called nondescript North American city. That's the name of the city.
There's this one point where I guess the new sergeant walks in and Mike's character goes, when did you become a woman? Well, the writers upstairs decided that or something like that. It's like that meta. Anyway, ask something now, Griffin, because I'll talk about theater and nothing but theater forever.
Actually, Griffin and I did this wonderful workshop together with Peter Hinton working on Measure for Measure.
Oh, yeah.
Which was I learned so much, and it was really fun because Griffin, we've actually never shared the stage together, but we've known each other for several years. When you were a youngin'.
That's right.
And I was building sets with my friend Braden Griffiths for Calgary Young People's Theatre. And Griffin actually got to play, as a youth, one of my roles that I've always wanted to play who's John Watson, Dr. John Watson. Because I grew up reading Sherlock Holmes and Griffin knocked it out of the park. It was so fun.
Watson was a lot of fun. There was the one show. Oh my God. It was like one of our 2 student matinees. And one of the lines that I had, it's when Holmes is about to get killed. I come in and I call him, he may be pushy, he may be bossy. But during this, 11 a.m. student matinee, I said, he may be pussy and he may be bossy. and there was the 10 seconds of silence of it's kind of the moment where all your cast looks at you and you go, what are we going to do? Because there was one student that was killing himself, but the rest of the kids are trying to stay engaged based on what I just said. And we kind of just moved on and we're all kind of, which sucks because it's a very tense moment. Some guy has a gun to Sherlock Holmes' head. Anyway, that's my story about Dr. John. That's one of your bucket list roles?
Absolutely. I love the possibilities that are in sidekicks in a way.
Sure. I buy that.
I think there's something about a means of support or a means of being able to provide something that this person who's in charge doesn't have, do or doesn't have. And there's something really magical about finding that person who fills that gap. And then the friendship that ensues afterwards, or not, maybe.
Yeah, the sidekick is also a person that it's very easy to root for. The moment that Holmes doesn't have an answer, and the very first time that he turns to Dr. John Watson, be like, "What do you think?" It's yeah, Watson.
Totally.
This episode of The Breakfast Dish is brought to you by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider in Alberta, offering internet, electricity, and natural gas with low rates, awesome service, and profit sharing with local charities.
Local charities, is that you?
Am I a local charity?
You're a 24-year-old in your own apartment.
All right, listen, in Alberta, you get to choose who to buy your internet and electricity and natural gas from. And if you choose Park Power, you're choosing a positive local business. They're local.
Shop local.
You have to shop local. Plus, Park Power shares its profits with local non-for-profits, which is, I think, a great deal. And because those non-for-profits are looking to make a difference for their communities. And shopping local is very important to Park Power's owner, Chris Kozowski. And we love local here at the Alberta Podcast Network, so it's a great fit.
Do you think that the Park Power owner, Chris Kozowski, picked a double P because his name has a double K?
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we'll confirm that. Chris, let us know.
Where we can confirm it is where you can also learn more, which is at parkpower.ca.
Griffin, during the rehearsals of Christmas Carol, Mike has been known to send us his favorite videos off of YouTube and sketch comedy troupes and college humors and stuff. That's a big thing for you, yeah? Sketch comedy? You're a big fan. Do you do it too?
I do. I used to. I've done one show with the Late Late Breakfast Show. And I was going to say, they do some very, I think, really smartly written comedy. But I actually, when I was in university, I actually asked my professor at the time, Clem Martini, or one of my professors who was teaching playwriting, if we could do a directed studies for sketch comedy. And we we hadn't spent an entire semester and had this directed studies. So we got, a half credit or whatever for this in university for doing a sketch comedy show because we thought that was it was important to us at the time.
Yeah, it is.
So we did this sketch comedy show. So we learned to write some stuff, workshopped a bunch of stuff, and then put together I think we put together an hour-long show at the end of the semester called A Bag of Meat because that's what we were. That's what we were. We were just we wanted to kind of explore this weird fragility of the human body. There were some sketches where we were inside, Magic School Bus style, and it was very, very silly. It was with Derek Pollock.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and David Smith. I spent a lot of time being a goofball with a whole bunch of technicians in university.
I was going to say, that's quite the trifecta.
Please, is there some sort of archival video of that? Because I want to see
Oh,
that.
heck no. Oh, heck no. It was very silly, though. I can guarantee it made probably very little sense.
So you've told me about a couple of things online that you think we should watch. One is I think I should be going. Is that what it's
I
called?
think you should leave.
It's close. I think you should leave. I think you should leave is, I think, wonderful.
That's an outstanding show.
I'm a huge fan of kind of more absurdist or tangential comedy sketches, like Comedy Bang Bang, and growing up, or I should say growing up, it's not even that long ago, but watching the Kroll Show with Nick Kroll and Scott Aukerman with Comedy Bang Bang. And yeah, I like these sketches where you just take the offers and see where it goes. And then kind of expand one's acceptance of reality in the weirder ways.
Yeah, expanding one's comedy range.
Yeah, there's something about having something that is just completely senseless and then just going with it, versus trying to make something make sense. It's really stunning to watch folks be able to do that.
I've shown Dad a few. I think you should leave sketches, and there's a few that I think he likes. I gotta show you some of them. One of the ones I think that is maybe the least absurd is there's a huge car accident into this clothing shop, and it's a hot dog car. It's like an Oscar Mayer Wiener hot dog car. Have you seen it?
This is the one that Mike showed me. But can just tell a little bit more about it for the listeners, because it's worth looking up.
So everyone's like, what happened? How did this hot dog car get in here? And then the camera pans over to one guy going, what? Who did this? What happened? And he's in a full hot dog mascot outfit. And kind of throughout the scene as it plays, he's like, oh, man, it looks like we're going to have to, check for insurance and stuff like this. And he's kind of just stealing expensive suits as he kind of tries to walk out. Come on, it could be that guy. And it's a guy in a beige suit with the maroon shirt and a yellow, it also looks like a hot dog.
Yeah.
I think the best one is a whole bunch of students take their old professor out to lunch and they order their food. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just reviewing the show for the podcast.
We're sharing sketch. Mike is a fan of sketch.
The professor makes it clear that he wanted to order what one of the students ordered. He's like, oh, I got this dumb salad, but you got a burger. So they're trying to have this lovely intellectual conversation. They're like, yeah, you really changed our life, professor. Thank you so much. And he'd be like, I'm going to take your burger. Ha, I'm joking.
Yeah.
And then it just keeps progressing so that he takes his plate, eats a burger, puts it back, goes, you're not going to tell anybody that I did that, right?
It's brilliant. One of the other cool things about this show is that they cast people who aren't famous. They cast people who aren't big Hollywood. They just openly call, and people come in and then they do their thing. And it lends this really lovely tenderness and awkwardness that those who aren't super comfortable with, those who aren't movie stars, they're just really funny. This person I've never seen who plays the professor, I've never seen on anything else, knocks it out of the park. And all the characters, however minor, they play their roles so beautifully. There's no need for polish. There's something about there's something about the rawness, and I'm sure it's film or TV, and you get the best take or cut or whatever. But there is a real the show runners or whoever is directing each episode, they really got their ear down in the ground for what feels right for the show, and it's absolutely super awkward.
I think the fact that it's more unknown folks, unknown actors really lends itself to the comedy, because then you don't go into a sketch being oh, this guy always does this character, I know what's coming. It's almost an ensemble cast. You see 4 or 5 people kind of returning sometimes, but there's a new person, and it's always a roulette spin dice roll of what is this character going to bring to this sketch, because you don't know them. If
you were in a sketch comedy troupe, and this time I am talking celebrities, Mike, but let's say you're building a sketch comedy troupe, who are the famous people you'd want in your troupe with you?
Famous people. Okay, first of all, I would my answer always would be if I was ever going to do any comedy is I would definitely have Pat Quinn. He's not a famous human necessarily, but he is famous to me, and he's a sketch comedy. He's a teacher here in Calgary, but he's one of the funniest people.
I've done a show with him. I love him.
Yeah, Pat Quinn is one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. And yeah, I've met very funny people. Let's see. Who do I really enjoy? I really like Randall Park.
Whoa, okay,
Randall
yeah.
Park's older work, like in Apatow comedies, was really lovely. He always plays this kind of straight man. He was in Fresh Off the Boat, so he's like the lead guy in Fresh Off the Boat. Who else? I really like Adie Bryant. Holy smokes. Her show, what is it, Shrill, is very funny. And also this, have you seen Insecure with Issa Rae?
Issa
think so.
Rae?
Yeah, Issarae. Insecure, I think it's on Crave or whatever. Brilliant. The way she has written this show is absolutely brilliant. And the way she performs it with her friends, or I'm sure they're friends, but her characters' friends in the show are just hilarious. And then let's see, one more person I feel like. Oh, I love Broad City also. So like any like Abby Jacobson or Ilana Glazer, they're just
Glazer's great.
so funny.
I'm so out of the loop. I'm like looking these all up on Google while you're talking.
That's great. That's just more people to discover, like really awesome, really funny humans. Oh, and Donald Glover too. Oh, I could just name a lot of people actually. Donald Glover.
I know who Donald Glover is.
Oh, yeah. Were you around for like Derek Comedy Days?
No.
That's where he first started doing his sketch comedy, it was with him and I think DC Pearson and one other gentleman that I don't remember, but it's their old YouTube channel, Derek Comedy. I think it's DERRICK Comedy, and it's just the three of them. And there's some really good ones in there. That was a big Derek Comedy probably formed a lot of my sense of humor for like 14 to 17.
Donald Glover's Childish Gambino, right?
Yeah.
And also was on Community.
That's right.
Yes.
Troy.
What do you think Donald Glover's better at? Acting, comedy, or his musical career?
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
Tough.
This is another question that has nothing to do with Mike Tan, but I'm just interested.
Oh, all good.
Forget Mike. I'll talk about Donald Glover for my entire life.
Yeah, exactly. Same. Atlanta is a beautiful, beautiful show.
Atlanta's so good.
I tell my partner that I get a little bit worried for the characters, not about the show, but like because the characters are so like funny, but they're also in like really sometimes awful circumstances. And because the show doesn't shy away from the reality that Black people are facing where they are, I always get a little bit worried that something's going to happen to their characters. So the show always feels like emotionally really full. And not full in a way that I'm like, oh man, I'm going to pop, like, and tears are going to fly out of every orifice. Not necessarily that there's just so much complexity and like feeling when I watch that show, which is great. And part of that experience is because of the director, Hiro Murai, who used to do a lot of music videos, but this show is shot so beautifully, and the way the frame is composed all the time tells this story of like scale and distance. And that's stuff I really enjoy as well. I mean, as a photographer, but that stuff influences us, I think, as human beings. We get a sense of that. Like when something is framed, we immediately start to analyze and feel the arrangement, the choices that are being made, although they may be subconscious.
I don't even have to make up a great segue for that. Talk about your photography work, Mike Tan.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So right now, I don't do as much because we're busy with getting back into the theater, which is such an awesome thing. But I've spent, 11 years-ish now working as a photographer. So I started with wedding photography because my partner and I were like, hey, we don't want to work for anybody. Let's start our own business.
Nice.
So at that time, I actually hadn't been a photographer. So I learned all how to use a camera essentially from my partner, Diane. And
really?
Yeah. So she showed me how to use. So she went to, I think, the photojournalism course at SAIT, but then was always taking photos anyway. And I grew up my first love in life was drawing. I always loved visual art. And it wasn't until high school that I started acting. And it was through actually improv, Karen.
Nice.
Through Loose Moose. And in fact, back in high school, I went to what was formerly known as Bishop Grandin. And I was in the same kind of year as Andrew Fung from
Oh, wow.
yeah, from Kin's Convenience. So the fellow who introduced me to improv, whose name is Will Weldon, he's a comedian in LA now. He was friends with Andrew and a bunch of folks that all went to the same school. Another comedian by the name of Jeffrey De Silva, who's still here in Calgary. And we would go every week and just like hang out like these high school kids. And one of my good friends, Juan Delgado, who is out in Toronto, we would just make up silly things together. And we did the high school theater sports tournament, whatever the heck that was. And when we got, and this is a weird, silly thing that we made up, but I just love the name. But we were in the finals. Our friends, the finals were just friends. And because we really knew each other, so it was such a awesome memory of mine, but we called it the Grandin McNally finale, which was because the other team was from Bishop McNally, another Catholic high school. Yeah, the Grandin McNally finale. So I will never forget that. And I've derailed myself. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, photography.
You like drawing. I like drawing. And then you discovered theater and improv, and now we're going to
That's
photography.
okay. I talked to you about the hot dog car sketch for more than I should have.
But how could you not? How could you not? Zach Cannon's reaction when he looks down, you'll see.
Oh my God.
There's actually a moment in A Christmas Carol that you'll see. What maybe we'll see when you can pick it up.
Holy.
We've definitely inserted it into the show, and it somehow made a moment work.
Perfect. Yeah, that's wow.
Yeah. Hot dog guy somehow made a moment work. And I will also throw that out to James Oden Wade, because he reminded me of that moment while we were doing By the Book, oddly enough. Anyways, photography. So I did weddings for a while, learned how to use a camera, but I had grown up with a fairly robust practice of drawing and visual composition. So throughout university, I took several of my options were drawing and visual art classes. So from drawing to 3D fundamentals and onward. So I felt very comfortable with framing. Photography was kind of a combination of my love for people and interpersonal relationships, as well as my love for visual storytelling and imagery. So being able to talk to people and get them in a situation where they feel comfortable with each other and open with each other, and then, taking the distance and putting them in scale within the frame to tell the story about how they're together or how they're not together, or a certain distance of coming together. There's something about photography, especially of people, that feels very theatrical to me anyway.
Ooh.
Yeah. And really in how we relate to each other on the visual picture on stage, and how we close distance, how we make distance, how we become aware of the space between, which is very illuminated in a still, but in theater, I think it's very powerful.
Yeah.
You took Griffin's headshots recently.
Yeah,
not recently, really. It was 4 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know now. 2018. We had some really lovely black and white photos of Griffin.
Did you do the James Dean versions?
Yeah.
Oh my Lord, those pictures are so great.
Well, those are all Griff's idea. He sent a few inspiration images, and I'm like, okay, let's make this work. Let's roll up your sleeves, kiddo, and let's get some of those pipes in the photo.
Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot of fun. That was a really great environment to be shooting in. I have such a hard time having my photo taken. Video, for some reason, I feel like I'm a little bit more comfortable in, but photos is tough. I've accepted that no matter what pose I do, the good photos will be in between the faces that I'm making, or in between the poses. It's the moment of transition that I find turn out to be the best thing for me, at least.
Hearing you say that, Griffin, I can understand why why motion feels much more comfortable. Because
totally.
Feeling like you have to be paused in a moment is quite unnatural. Unless you're actually paused in a moment, So
it's like when you're in a play
totally
and you have to freeze.
Yeah, this is the moment where we have our 13 tableaus.
That's right. Well, I'm going to take a pause here and say that The Breakfast Dish is part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community-supported. The intro music you just heard and the outro music you're about to hear is by Alexandra Cowman. All graphic design for The Breakfast Dish has been done by Morgan Ermter, Karen, What's coming up this week?
Swallow a Bicycle Theatre is presenting Separatism. I hope I'm saying that right.
Nailed it.
It runs from December 3rd to December 11th. It's at the Doherty Hall, 623 13th Avenue Southeast. And you can get tickets at eventbrite.ca. And this is how it's spelled. SE space PA space RA space TI space SM space. And the other thing that I think everyone should just jump in their cars and go to, Natalie Gauthier, who is a Rosebud grad, who I bloody adore. On Thursday, December 9th at 7 p.m., she is performing at the Sunnyside Cider House. That is 13300 14th Avenue Northeast. Just listen to Natalie sing and know exactly why I'm obsessed with Natalie Gauthier. She knows that. I've told her. I'm like a stalker. There, that's what's happening. Coming up.
There we go. I'm a stalker. Mike Tan, thank you very much for coming on The Breakfast Dish.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me. This is quite a treat.
We have a new segment now. And the new segment is because Alexander Cowman, who is also a Rosebud grad that we adore, and who composed the theme music for The Breakfast Dish, sings in her introduction to us, "Tell me your dreams over bacon and eggs." And we interpreted that to mean, if we were sitting down over bacon and eggs right now, Mike Tan, what's the most recent dream that you remember, or a dream that stands out the most in your head?
Oh my word.
If you're a dreamer. And if not, then you can tell us a dream like, I want to play John Watson.
An aspiration, yeah.
Oh my word. Oh, I actually don't dream too often. And often when I do, they're anxiety dreams. And I wake up going, what? Huh?
Me too.
Let's see. One that I do remember, this was several years ago. And it may be because I was playing or watching like Metal Gear Solid video games. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Griffin, but...
Very.
Hideo Kojima. Anyways, I was like a spy. So stupid. Okay, I was like a spy.
No, this is good.
Rappelling down like what would be like a parkade, like a multi-level parkade with like the ramps inside. Like it was like a giant cube but it was a parkade. And it was walking like one of those like big giant brick things from like Super Mario 64. And it was walking, and I had to like infiltrate it and then grab like a little chip in the middle of this giant walking parkade. And then I would be like throwing people off.
Sorry, do you mean a thwomp from Super Mario?
Yeah, like a thwomp. Like a thwomp, yeah. Just imagine a parkade-sized thwomp.
Wow.
And then me dressed in black with like night vision goggles and like I remember being very light and ninja-y, not having many things. But it was like silent. I had to go in silent and get this chip. It was ridiculous. I was just like, what? It was this weird action adventure like of a 12-year-old dream. And this was when I would have been like 30s.
That's the video game crossover we never knew we wanted. Mario Gear Solid.
Yeah.
I think at the Dallas Event Center, the other band that's performing is Parkade-Sized Thwomp. What is it?
Yeah, that's right.
Thwomp.
Yeah, thwomp.
I gotta say, though, there is actually a band in Calgary. Well, I don't know if they exist anymore, but they're called Thwomp, and they played amazing like video game music of their own arrangements. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
So look
very
up
cool.
Thwomp.
Look up thwomp. Mike, how we like to wrap up the breakfast dish is that Karen will ask you an improvised question, maybe pertaining to the things we talked about, but probably not. Either way, it's not planned. It is a professional improviser. Here we go, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, you and Issa Rae, you and your new sketch troupe. It has to have a breakfast-themed name, your sketch troupe. What is the name of your sketch troupe?
The Runny Side Up.
Ooh.
How about that?
Oh, that's awesome.
Karen, I introed us with the breakfast dish Christmas song. It's only fair that you outro us with the breakfast Christmas song. Go ahead.
Okay. Michael Tan.
Interesting.
Playing Scrooge. He's
All right.
the bomb on the stage beside us. Me and Vanessa are feeling the trust. Michael
Whoa.
Tan is Scrooge, and so is Haysam Kadri.
Bop, 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 bop. This has been The Breakfast Dish.